But my first memory is climbing the stairs in his studio at 15 with that wonderful aroma of the oil paint and being so excited. And then I thought about how many people have climbed the stairs to study art and have been squashed or discouraged, and how Mr. Hunter was so incredible, the way he encouraged us so much and the way he inspired and believed the best for all of us. And what a precious gift that was to me early on in my life, that I would start my art career with somebody that believed and encouraged me in the arts.
The best memory I have of Mr. Hunter is when I first met him, because when I was looking for, I just needed to grow, and I was doing a lot of pen and ink drawings and pencil drawings, but I said, Mr. Hunter, I want to take some classes because I need some help. And he says, tell you what, why don't you come by Saturday morning? He said, come by Saturday morning and we'll see if we can make room for you. And he looked through all my work and he said, well, you know what, Joe? You're a good artist, you can draw. But I'm going to teach you how to draw with your brush. And that was the beginning of it. From there, I kept coming every Saturday morning, and I learned something every time I went.
I love the guy. He was great. I was a little tiny kid, 14 years old, and I was sent off to school. I was going actually to junior high school. It was probably about my last year of junior high school at Poe Junior High School. And my mother found his name, I guess, in the newspaper, or maybe it could have been in the phone book. But anyway, that was the situation.
I learned quite a bit from Warren Hunter, especially in the watercolors, and he was very patient with all his students. Mostly all the students of the artists from San Antonio studied with Warren Hunter. I loved when he was at La Villita, because there was it was like a little artist colony there. Another thing I remember of Warren Hunter is I always used to see him with a bow tie at Bonanza. He would love to go to Bonanza. I would meet him there, or I would see him at Hurwick's.
My name is Rudy Ortiz. I was a student of Mr. Warren Hunter for almost 7 years. I started the school in July of 1969. Prior to that year, that time, I had never had any formal trainings. I have a lot of fond memories of Mr. Hunter. I could tell you 1,000 things about him in all these years that I befriend. I also collect his work. He taught me all the mediums, from pen and ink, watercolors, oils, landscapes, seascapes, and he was my only teacher. He also encouraged me to join different art groups here in San Antonio. Prior to that schooling, I had some schooling in art in high school, but nothing until I started Hunter School of Art. I had never had an alt brush or an artist brush in my hand until I joined the Warren Hunter School of Art.
I studied with Warren Hunter in '65 in La Villita, my first lesson. From those days at La Villita with Warren Hunter were my best days of studying art with Warren Hunter. He was teaching us the old academic way of teaching with Conte, live drawing, Conte and newsprint from the live model. And that's the best way you can learn how to draw is from the model. In fact, I never forget that one time you told me you do mass and shading, but no line. We don't believe in line. And I remember he used to tell me, you get the edges here worn out, and then you get a little belly on the middle of the Conte, and you hold it this way. And he would come and teach you. And if your knuckles were not dirty, then you were not handling it right, and that kind of thing. And that's what I learned from Warren Hunter. Is you learn how to draw, and you always be really good at the watercolors or anything you want to do.
Just about everything, I think. Not only was able to learn the different, from commercial to fine arts, but also he was always very interested in history, and that's one of my things right now. I love history, and I go back, and of course it shows in some of my paintings, because I concentrate on some of the things that I read. I always said that he was a man that not only did he know his art, but he knew a lot of the history, and that's what I was so glad, and I learned a lot from him.
And also, Warren was the kind of teacher that never put you down. He always, he didn't congratulate you a lot, but he taught you, and he also, but the main thing, he didn't pressure you or put you down, but he said, well, let's get the job done, thing like that. But it was not a real teacher with a hickory switch type of teacher at all. When I started my school many years later, I tried to form the same kind of teaching.
You know, I just learned so much from him, you know, about life. And he came at a time when I was desperate to learn more about art. Going to art class on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock wasn't easy for me. So, but I still, you know, I would party, and no matter how, I was embarrassing to me, but no matter how hungover I was, I would go to class. You know, people, when they see my paintings, they say, are these watercolors? I say, yeah. He says, they don't look like watercolors, they look like oils. And I paint kind of dark, and one time I was doing this beautiful painting, the sky was real nice and clean, and then all of a sudden I looked and it had a spot on the sky, and I said, oh, Mr. Hunter, look. He said, oh, don't worry about it, and he took my brush and he made a little bird out of that spot. So that's another thing that I learned from Warren Hunter. A lot of people look at my work and they say, how did you do that? And Mr. Hunter used to tell me, when you make a mistake, just let it go and then work around it.
I gained so much. I gained the foundation in my very beginning years of painting. I learned from him how to purchase paint, how to mix paint, how to apply it, how to design it, how to frame it when it was finished. He taught me everything in the beginning, and so he was my foundation in art. I had no question where to begin. I knew what to do. I had my confidence, and he had given me, early on in my life, he gave me the confidence of just believing in myself and just making art. The thing that I know about Mr. Hunter is that even when he was teaching, his points were always made with a little touch of humor. I can remember when he said, when he was in school in the Chicago Institute, that his teacher had told him that he needed to paint on the end of his brush. He needed to get further away from his paintings. So he went home that night and he got a broom handle, and he strapped his brush to that broom handle, and he arrived at class the next day. And when the teacher reminded him to get at the end of his brush, he pulled out his long broom handle and stood about 4.5 feet from his painting. So that's the thing I remember that's funny.
There's nothing funny when he was a very serious man. To me, he was a very serious man.
Well, it had to do with him because he would allow some of my friends to come over and pick me up from school in the evenings. But my friends used to do that. Some of my friends from the neighborhood would come over and pick us up or pick me up only because we had a live model, and they wanted to walk in there and see that was the funny thing. But he wouldn't say anything like, you can't come in or anything like that. But he knew it. He knew that the guys would come over and they would take turns and to which one would come over and to the classroom and try to, just to tell me that they were waiting outside. But I knew that they were waiting outside.
I could talk all day long about Mr. Hunter. There's so many things, but I met so many friends that became lifelong friends in his studio, and So many times we quote what he said, like just a flick of the brush, or he say, warm against cool. Make sure that your values, are reading correctly.
Everything that I do, I would like for you to come to see my house. Everything that I do is because of him. Only one teacher. And some of the students used to tell me, you should go to other schools and take lessons from. No, I said, if Mr. Hunter cannot teach me what I want to learn, nobody else can. So I just stayed with one teacher, Warren Hunter.
Before I left, I talked to Mr. Hunter and I told him that I was not going to be able to continue the schooling because of the money problems. So Mr. Hunter said, well, I don't want you to stop coming. I want you to continue coming to school. And so that's what I did. He said, you don't have to pay anything, you just come to school. And that's one of the best things that happened in my life.
He always wore a bow tie, and that was kind of unusual for everybody else because there was hardly anybody who wore a bow tie. But he was a great guy.